You'll know, but whatever. We'll do a mystery set. Oh god, this fire's been really good.
Still going for all these days.
Long burning fire. Oh, welcome back everyone. So I've always wanted to do that candid. Oh, welcome back everyone.
It's like the sitcom intro. You know, in the sitcom intros, they're always like, and they go. Yeah.
It's you again.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, welcome back. It's always a pleasure. Never a chore, thank you.
Hopefully, you've already watched Jack's first one. If you haven't, I'm actually going to say pause the video right now and go and watch it, because this is a part 2.
This is.
As you can probably tell from the title, which should have a big part 2 in it, to Jack's story on Thursday, which is called
The Cracks in Between.
Cracks in Between. So hopefully a lot of you guys have seen that, and you're eagerly awaiting the ending right now. I have been waiting for literally minutes to hear the ending of this. You guys have been waiting for a few days.
I don't know why that made me laugh.
So,
time is a funny thing, isn't it? It is quite funny though, isn't it? Because we have leapt forward 3 days in the world, but we remain eternal in the eternal forest, which isn't a garage.
Still not a garage.
Still not a garage, and it never will be.
Still not the green screen.
But yeah, I suppose we should get into it, part 2.
Let's do it. We don't need the title, do we? Just did the title.
Well, it's The Cracks in Between, part 2.
Alright.
Let's go.
For a brief moment, you think that you can make out the sound of the same dull trickle of water from the night before, and all of the same nights before that. But then, you glance down, and you realise that the tears of the young boy Peter are dripping from his nose down to the floorboards below. And then you hear the shambling beneath you, and Eric stands to his feet, turning toward the doorway. He looks at you, and he balls his fists. "John? The Broadleys?" he whispers. "How can it be?" You shake your head and whisper for quiet. Below, you hear their boots sliding and scratching across the wood. You peer your head down the dark passage of the stairway below, the thin scatter of light outlining the soft shadows of the wooden steps. You listen, frozen in fear, as the shambling grows closer. The 2 children, Peter and Martha, try to stifle their own sobs, clutching their hands against their mouths. The door creaks beneath, and the shadowed figure stands at the edge of the staircase. It steps forward, and as the first wooden boards creak, you see that it was once John Broadley, a family man, the mill owner. Whatever it is now, though, is something else entirely. Eric steps backward, shaking his head, holding his palms flat in the air in disbelief. "John?" he says gingerly. "John, we came to check on you and the children. It happened again last night, John." "It's not him," cries the little girl, Martha. "Don't let it come up here. Don't let it near us." Eric looks at you, his face an ashen pale. His eyes are wide in panic, and as the figure on the stairway steps closer, you can see that it too is drenched and sodden. The wash of a white linen shirt hangs limply on its frame, and as it moves closer, you can make out 2 dark black orbs. Its eyes are no longer human, but instead shadowed spheres, misted almost like a swirling smoke behind glass, like the rolling tide of a long forgotten ocean. The figure lets out a wheeze and then a groan, as if something that should speak couldn't quite find the right tongue to do so. "John?" mutters Eric. "John, you'll have to speak up." You take a step backwards behind Eric as he puffs his chest and lowers his hands. You shelter beside the children, wrapping your arm around them. You can make out 2 more figures below, shambling at the foot of the staircase. "Please," pleads Eric. "John, you're scaring the little ones." Martha and Peter scream as the figure that was once their father steps through the threshold. It raises its arm, its hands contorted like a claw, rigid and sinuous. It lets out a gargled lurch and it swipes at Eric, but Eric is too quick, and as he shifts his weight backwards, he plants his boot square in the centre of the figure's sodden chest. It squelches, and so does its body as it topples down the staircase, clattering beneath in a spray of dust and splinters, the two other figures beneath spilling into a pile on the floor below. "John, I warned you," says Eric as he slams the door in its frame. You clamber to your feet and tell Eric that isn't John, nor is it Tom or Annie. You turn to the children, your knees crack as you crouch down, patting their shoulders. You wipe Peter's tears away with your thumb. You turn to Martha and ask her how long their parents and their brother had been this way. "The night before last," she sputters. "Just after they boarded the windows and chained the door. Father said that the mill had to stop. He said that the water, it was coming in from beneath us. He said that they'd angered it. He said that it had taken too many, but he wasn't going to let it take any more. That was just before he locked us up here. We were so scared. He said that we had to stay here." Eric places a hand on your shoulder. You can feel it tremble. Beneath you, you hear the scatter of hands clawing against wood, the shambling of boots again on the floor. You can make out the slow, incessant groan of the three figures beneath you, but just then, in the distance, you realise that the same drone has suddenly grown louder. In a panic, you place your ear against the wooden wall and you squint your eyes at the cracks in between. Eric does the same, and outside you can make out a thick stagger of people. Not people, things. The same things that writhe at the bottom of the staircase. Their clothes are sodden, packed together outside the Broadley house, clambering at the wooden walls. People that you know, people that you came here with. Villagers. Dead villagers. The ones that have choked in their sleep, their throats filled with dark, inky water the next morning. But then you realise that the front door is open, kicked off its hinges by Eric only half an hour before. You look at him and he looks at you. He purses his lips and he closes his eyes in a sorrow. You grasp Martha by the shoulders and tell her to focus. You ask her if there's another way out of here. She shakes her head as a tear rolls down her cheek. Peter weeps, cradling his head against his sister's, writhing in fear and panic. And then you hear the wooden staircase begin to creak once more as the sound of bodies sliding against the walls becomes louder and louder. Eric clambers to his feet, thrusting his thick frame against the wooden boards of the door as it briefly bursts open, slamming it shut as a tangle of sodden fingers snap in the frame. Below, beneath the floorboards, you see a huddle of soaked bodies shamble across the floor, dripping a thick, inky water to the ground, mindlessly stumbling to the rear of the house, to the staircase below. But then, as you frantically scan the room for something, anything, a morsel of hope to tide you over, suddenly the droning and the sliding of flesh on wood, it stops. The clawing at the door ceases. Silence. For what seems like an eternity. Eric stares at you wide-eyed, straining his back against the wooden door, heaving in his struggle, and then he slowly shakes his head at you. But then you realise that he's not looking at you, but behind you. Martha screams as she falls toward you, clutching at your leg, scrambling forward away from the wall, and her brother, Peter, lies still, his head slumped down on his own chest, his shirt soaked through with tears, and then his head snaps upward, his eyes suddenly the same black orbs as the figures on the staircase. And then a voice speaks, but it is not the voice of a child. It is an ancient voice, one that has been here long before you, and one that will be here long after you are gone.
"The little ones are more fluent in our tongue,"
it says to you, its voice deep like an echo on the cliffs of a long-forgotten shore.
"I will drown you all, but you are useless to me. I will take this entire village, save for a single child. And now that is done, I am merciful to those that have lived."
Your hairs stand on end as Peter, or what was once Peter, rises to stand. Martha screams, almost choking on her tears as she frantically wipes them away from her face. The boy steps forward and raises his hands in the air, and in one quick movement he scrunches them into a fist. And then outside, you hear the thud of body after body slumping against the wooden boards, sliding to the ground. The boy, he looks at you, and he tilts his head like a cat toys with a mouse.
Go then,
Says the voice.
climb into your wagons, return to your towns, mark this place upon your maps, and understand that there is some soil that is not meant to be toiled by your hand. There are some waters that run deeper than others. You will learn this with time, or you will not, and you will die because of it.
You stumble backwards, staggering to place your hand upon the doorframe as Eric creaks the wooden boards open. Beneath, on the staircase, the bodies of the Broadley family litter the way. You grab Martha and you clutch her to your chest. You cover her eyes with your hand as she weeps uncontrollably, crying out for her brother. You tell her not to look. You tell her that it's not them as Eric frantically steps over countless bodies, limp and lifeless against the floorboards, their bodies sodden, dripping across the floor, but their eyes clear. A black spatter of an inky liquid pooled across their cheeks like tears. Eric dry heaves in his hand at the sight of them, but you clasp him by the shoulder, urging him forward, and the three of you step over the shattered doorframe out into the bright light of the afternoon. You don't look back. You don't let go of your hand across Martha's eyes. You don't let her look at the mill wheel or the home that her family had built by the river. You run for what seems like an eternity through the village, not a soul in sight save for the three of you. As you pass the church, you notice mounds upon mounds of disturbed earth, soil, where the graves of those that you had buried should have been. You reach the stables, and Eric closed the wagon. A bundle of wheat, already wrapped, and a stack of canteens by the passenger's side. You should have listened to him, but there's no time for regret. You ride for miles, but the horses are eager to leave, and before long, dusk has fallen. You make camp, and Martha sleeps in the carriage beneath the stars, wrapped under a bundle of linen blankets. You make a fire, and Eric tends to the horses. The two of you sit down, and you realise that you haven't spoken a word since the village. You try and find the courage to raise his spirits, but in the end, you settle on the truth. You tell him that you won't make it back, that it's too far without supplies. He looks at you, and he nods gingerly, but then he smiles, and he reaches a hand into his pocket. He pulls out a thick leather bundle, and he opens it before you. "Pemmican," he says. "The natives, they taught me how to make it."
That was amazing. That was amazing.
Thanks, man.
That was amazing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it really was, and you know it.
Well, I told you I'm really happy with this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was special.
You think?
That felt different to everything else you've done. That felt really special.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Kind of just poured out of me as well.
Well, that's a good sign that you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got nothing to say, because I'm sort of like, I was like, the first time I've ever listened to one of your stories, and I was actually like smiling for the last 10 minutes, even though it was grim as hell.
Yeah. Happy ending.
It's
Kind of.
It's not. It's like a horrible ending, but it just.
It's human nature to learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah. I need to get my brain to gear and start talking, because I do have stuff to say, but like just.
We can take a minute if you want. Just let us say it.
No. Yeah. I really like the ending, first of all, because, you know, you could have easily ended it on, you know, stepping out into the bright daylight of the afternoon. But then there was a little roller coaster right there.
Yeah, we're gonna go get it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Save enough later. Leave my hair alone.
Sorry, it was literally right in my eye line. Like every time you shook your head, it was like. Sorry, everyone.
That's getting the bloopers. Anyway, bloopers 3. Yeah, the ending had a little like up and down as well. It was like, okay, they're out. Oh no, they're not. Okay, they are, but are they? That was like a mini story in itself, which is why I was just sort of, a wry smile. On his face.
Endings are hard, but that kind of felt right.
It did, yeah. All right, so is it linked to the soil? I'm guessing, yeah, because there's a line there that was said in the soil. Rivers running deeper than.
Yes, well, it was some soil shouldn't be toiled.
Oh, some soil, right, yeah, sorry.
No, it wasn't verbatim, but it was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was different in the soil. But.
That's really cool because, like, I'm picturing that in the soil. It could be the same spot. It could be the same.
It could well be.
It could be the same place.
Yeah.
And yeah, perhaps this ancient evil, this ancient water evil, will absorb people one by one. But if it gets too much or they don't learn their lesson, it will rise up. You know.
Here's the one question I wanted to pose with that though: is it evil?
Well, it depends because I don't know if I gave them enough warning. Well, actually, it's no more or less evil than what they were doing in a way. It was still sort of supplanting people out of their home and whatever, you know.
Right.
And perhaps that's why the natives weren't, you know, subjected to it, or at least more aware of it, or they'd learn their lesson.
Exactly right.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
And that was deliberate. I wanted it to be as great as possible.
Yeah. And you know, you saved it from being just a. I think there's different types of evil. There's like chaotic evil, which really doesn't care. It just wants to cause death and misery in the end of everything.
Yeah.
But that didn't seem like it. That little speech at the end that it had made it sound a bit more like there was a method to his madness. Mm-hmm. You know, there's always a reason for it, mm-hmm. and it said you should learn from this. And to be honest, it's no more or less scary than, like, you look at, like, God in the Old Testament, which is still sort of like literally people walk around with that. You go and read the Old Testament, like, God would, like, smash up an entire village and save, like, one person, like, just like that, and be like, well, now you should learn your lesson. The same Bible that they were carrying around with them. So it's almost like this is something you should be aware of, that there are things more powerful than you, and it will it's, you know, omnipotent, but also benevolent to a sense.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go for.
Yeah.
Not quite malevolent, but
no.
And ambivalent.
Yeah. Sure. But no more or less than humans.
Exactly right.
You know, sort of hold up a mirror to us.
Yeah.
I love the whole thing with the natives as well, because I was thinking about how you know, you hear about those European colonies in Europe, in America, and they'd leave a bunch of villagers there, and they would come back to check on them like a year later with, like, supplies or whatever, and find them all dead.
Right.
And just dead. And, like, a lot of them were documented. People would, like, write, like, oh, the food's running out, that kind of stuff. But, like, a lot weren't, and that leaves room for this to be woven into real history.
Right.
You know, what if that was it? Mm-hmm. And instead of learning their lesson and just not going there again, they just, through trial and error, learned where they could and couldn't go. And then you got these sort of black holes across the land, like, you know, in the soil, where they realise, well, we can't live here, but we can still plant here, or they sort of forget it. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you literally got all of my feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
I think you got them quite accurately, actually. It's a good feeling to be able to accurately translate my message. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. Hey, we spoke about the witch in the last episode, but there's something so good in that film that just kind of strikes a chord, and it's what a scary time in history for everyone involved. For everyone, like, I'm fascinated by the colonial period of America.
Oh yeah.
But it was a time of real fear for everyone, for the natives, for the colonists, for people just coming to a land that they had no idea what was going on from the European settler side, and then just go out into this world that you have no connection with. Mm-hmm. Just no connection whatsoever. But that's terrifying. You know, that doesn't even need to be a horror film. Like The Witch obviously had many elements of horror, but that is a family cast out into a complete and utter unrelenting landscape. A forest that
doesn't want
unyielding. It does not want them there.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. You can get rid of the witch and the witch, and it's still terrifying.
Yeah, and you know, I know that there's sort of factual historical reasons why you know, native people in North America, you know, were so adept at living with the land when the settlers got there, because they had, you know, thousands and thousands of years of expertise. But if you want to weave that in with this fantastical thing, it's sort of like they've been given the right to live there by this being, which in itself is only
symbiosis, right?
Yeah, which in itself is just one facet of Mother Nature. It's not, Mother Nature's not this, you know, smiling tree of benevolence. It's Mother Nature is everything that's good and bad,
right?
You know, and it had given them the right to live there, and it hadn't given the settlers the right.
Yeah.
Within reason, because it did say some, you know, it said some. But yeah, and we talked a bit about the second person writing as well in the last one. Yeah, and again that was great. I think this nameless character had. I was wondering how you're going to do it, but they had a bit more dialogue and direction. It felt a bit in the first one they were just sort of being led by the hand, like an RPG or something. But in this one there was a few little like gesturing to be quiet or like covering up the eyes, and this character felt a lot more involved.
Yeah, it's a little bit more dynamic. Yeah. I think I learned that as I was writing the story, you know, kind of like found places to have a little kind of like dynamic energy. Yeah. With the first, it was just, you know, setting the scene, kind of like you said, it was a bit of an escort quest. Yeah. Like in an, you know, like follow this guy around whilst you're doing this thing. Yeah. But then
Well, I almost. We'll come back to this, but what I was picturing was it was going to be an RPG. I thought it was going to be sort of like that movie. I'm not sure, it's probably come out by now, but there's a movie that's about the bank teller who keeps getting robbed and realizes he's in a game.
Oh yeah, that looks great. What's that called?
It's already out.
It is already out, but is it like it's like a man's name, just a single man's name, like?
I forget what it is, but yeah, this guy realizes he's in a video game, and I thought that's where you're going with it. And to that point, I thought that the narrator's, well, not the narrator, the main character, I thought they were in like a cutscene at the start. I thought it was setting it up, and it was sort of like, and then the moment they got the action was when the danger appeared, and suddenly they were very animated, and they were like, that's how I was picturing it.
That's cool. That's a cool concept in itself.
And Eric, and when you said as well, you were like, oh, I want them to be, you know, could be male, could be female, could be whatever. You know, I was picturing when Eric burst through the door, it was like the moment in Skyrim being like, who are you, you know? That's what I was picturing almost.
I love that. I love that so much.
Obviously this theory is now void. But
hey,
if it was true, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But yeah, no, I absolutely love the second person.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
Person thing, yeah. All right. Do you have anything you want to say?
Not really.
To your fans.
I have one last thing.
Yeah.
And again, I always like to leave mystery. So I'll tell you after the video, but well, unless you get it.
Well, tell me now. Tell us now.
But the character of Peter.
Yeah.
Has been seen before.
Has been seen before.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't remember.
See if you can get it. Let us know in the comment section.
Okay.
Let us know in the comment section.
Peter. Called Peter as well.
Nope.
Okay. Well, that's
a clue.
difficult.
That's a big clue though.
Is it Arthur?
Nope.
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 Is it Seth?
Nope.
No. Okay. Well, I'm out of guesses, so hopefully you guys can guess that. Where has Peter been seen before? And he's not called Peter. Good luck with that. So basically,
well, got a list of. You'll know, but whatever. Right. Mystery set.
Mystery set.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this video, this story, this set of stories, sort of oscillating between two scores. So I'm gonna go right down the middle and give it an 8.35.
Oh!
Yeah.
Is that the highest best one ever?
I think it is. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I didn't want to give that away too much at the start, but like, brilliant.
That means a lot.
Inspired.
That means a lot.
It pushed the envelope creatively. It was scary from the start. It was contained but also open at the end. And it mixed so many different ideas and concepts in a believable nutshell. I loved it.
Right, guys, thanks for tuning in to Ohno. We'll see you next week.
You soppy.
Thank you. That means a lot. Not
amazing.
Not because of that, like the scores are relevant, but like your reception to it is exactly what I wanted. Because like I said, I really, really, really enjoyed writing this story. Just like from the off, I just really enjoyed writing it.
Yeah, I think part of my reaction is that like it wasn't like sometimes if you're doing a story and it's sort of average, but it's a great bit, and then we get to the end bit and we're like, whoa, that bit blew me away, but like it was just solid throughout. So it was like I was already having this score in my head around the end of the first part. So
Thanks.
That's why.
Wow, really? At the end of the first part?
At the end of the first part, yeah.
What was the score that you were oscillating between? Or do I not?
Well, 8.3 and 8.4. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean.
That makes sense now.
I went right down the middle. Yeah.
I literally thought you had like two random scores.
No, not oscillating that far.
That makes sense. I thought you were like, we got like a 7.3 and like.
It's not random. It's somewhere between a 0 and 10.
It's hot in here. My brain's a little bit fried. I've been squeezing out some of the cracks in between.
Yeah, it was amazing. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed that. Make sure when you share this with everyone that you share the first part.
Yes, please do.
That's the only way it's going to make sense. It's going to be me next week, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a two-parter as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been inspired by that.
You've been inspired?
I have. So make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you tune in for our live stream as well, which is going to be next Friday.
Friday the 19th.
Friday the 19th.
There will be a community post about it. We spoke about it in the last episode. Friday the 19th.
Yeah.
Be there or be square. Biggest event of the month.
Oh, I'll be
huge. Like, people are coming.
I thought you said Peter. I was like,
Peter's coming.
Peter's coming.
My eyes just roll back into black. I was like,
no.
Told you I was coming.
Right, I'm not coming then.
Oh yeah.
Forget that.
No, please come. It won't be that scary. Well, it will be, but not that scary.
No. Thanks so much.
Anyway,
we will.
how should we? I think we should leave the fire burning.
Leave it burning?
Yeah.
Do you want to leave that forever? Keep the fire lit. I quite like the idea of that. Like
it's nice, isn't it?
An eternal flame.
Keep it burning.
Alright, we'll leave it burning for this week, and we'll see what you guys think. Whether you want us to blow it out or not. Look at us talking about an imaginary fire in our garage.
What do you mean imaginary, dude? It's hot. Singe my leg hairs.
Just trying to throw them off the scent.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you so much. Take care.
See you in a bit. Bye bye.